Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as we are going to continue to see some very changeable conditions as we do round out the end of November. We have got overnight frosts over the next couple of nights as we've got dry but chilly conditions, with the upper air temperatures actually getting pretty cold over the next couple of days, but it will turn milder into the weekend where we start to see more oscillating air masses as a westerly flow is likely to dominate early December. It doesn't look like it's going to be a massively unsettled westerly flow, as we'll see from the longer range charts, but it is nonetheless going to bring some rain. It's going to bring some dry conditions as well, but we're not expecting anything too major on the horizon, which is a bit of a change after the fairly unsettled and cold conditions that we saw last week. However, as we head more into December, there are continuing increasing signs that we could see blocking returning. Exactly what capacity, exactly how cold it will get, still yet to be determined, but definitely been a colder shift within the ensembles in the last couple of days, and definitely lots of the operational runs building higher pressure back towards our north and starting to push in colder air masses. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, do like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, if you start on the live radar, it's a pretty dry and cold night tonight, temperatures widely below freezing. You can see out to our east, we've got this big hooking area of low pressure. Now, this was the rain that did come through southern England into the Midlands last night, and it was fairly lively, but nothing out of the ordinary. But it actually is Storm Connell, and it's been named by the Dutch Weather Service. Now, of course, much of northern and western Europe names the storms. I've got sort of the name storm listing, so this is technically on the sort of Met Office named storm list, but the most severe impacts from this have not hit the UK. So yes, there have been some clickbait out there saying Storm Connell is going to hit us. Technically, the system that developed into Storm Connell hit us, but we really didn't see, massively severe impacts. Yes, heavy rain overnight, perhaps again exacerbating a little bit of flooding in places, but really nothing too severe. It's for Denmark where we're going to see pretty horrible conditions. As you can see, this system is starting to push in at the moment. Very strong winds and increasingly heavy rain. For us though, across the British Isles, it's very dry tonight. We've got a brief area of high pressure building in, and temperature's going to drop quite considerably. On the back edge of Connell, as this clears away, we are going to see a weak northerly flow, which does allow some chilly air to come in. And of course, being this time of year with very long nights, of course, we're getting towards the winter solstice in a few weeks' time. It does mean that any chilly air masses, clear skies, those temperatures are going to plummet. And widely tonight, we're expecting to see temperatures below freezing. And of course, it will be coldest further northwards, where we've got colder air, but you can see even areas further southwards, temperatures around 6 p.m. as I'm recording this, already getting towards the low single digits, if not below freezing. Now, also with those clearer skies and those cold conditions, we could even see a bit of fog developing at the surface under this brief ridge of high pressure. And we do actually have a warning issued for Northern Ireland. Now, it isn't too uncommon to see these warnings, and again, it is difficult to say exactly what sort of levels of fog do warrant a warning, but we have got one here for Northern Ireland, and it expires at 8 a.m. tomorrow. And again, we're expecting fairly widespread with visibilities below 100 metres in places, and again, could cause issues, and we could even see a bit of ice within that as well. So kind of compounding impacts from this fog and generally cold conditions. So do be wary. Even areas not covered by a fog warning could still be pretty foggy. Still could see lots of icy stretches, especially after the rain last night. So again, just be vigilant. We're not expecting anything major, but just be vigilant out there with this fog warning. Now, if I do go over to the latest UKV, if I just quickly refresh it to see if the 3 p.m. run's come out yet, unfortunately not, so we'll have a look at the 3 a.m. run. You can see the remnants, or not the remnants, but the origins of Storm Connell clearing through in the morning. As you can see, it was heavy rain, but nothing out of the ordinary. You can see, big area of rain, winds gusted a little bit across the far south coast, but again, nothing major. This is not a storm for the UK. It is for Denmark. We have to reiterate that. Even though it is officially on the Met Office Storms sort of naming system, it is that is in corroboration with other weather services, as we basically have all of the storms coming into the North Atlantic all being named under one listing. That's why this system has been named, because of the impacts, of course, further afield. But it cleared through early this morning and left fairly dry conditions, but cold conditions, and those cold conditions will dominate overnight, tonight, and into Thursday. We could see heavier rain pushing in from the west, and that probably will sweep away much of that colder air. I can see the rain doesn't make too much progress apart from Northern Ireland and Scotland, and for most it's just, again, cloudy conditions, where eventually the weather front sweeps through a little bit more through Friday into Saturday. Now, beyond that, into the weekend, as I said, there will be areas of rain, but we're not expecting anything too major. Equally, milder and colder air masses pushing in. You can see this with colder air in place at the moment over the next sort of 24 to 36 hours. That getting pushed away through Thursday, and then milder air returning. But then through the weekend, we do see oscillating air masses around average or slightly above average, and then a colder air mass could come in once again into the first few days of December. So very up and down. There will be frosts around, but we're not expecting anything too disruptive from any colder conditions other than maybe fog and frost like we're seeing tonight. And if we do look at the max temperatures, you can see through today it was pretty chilly, mid to low single digits, so below average for the time of year. And you can see overnight temperatures widely below freezing, even towards southern and southeastern England, down towards 0, -1 or -2 potentially. During the day tomorrow it will be chilly once again, maybe only 3 to 5 degrees. But luckily, as we head through Thursday into Friday, it will be turning milder, maybe an isolated frost somewhere on Friday morning, but most by Friday afternoon are still chilly, still only 7 or 8 degrees, but it is turning milder. The trend is towards milder conditions, and you see by Saturday, maybe even 13 to 15 degrees, and similar conditions into Sunday, in southern areas, turning chillier further northwards, and eventually will turn a bit colder for all during the early parts of next week as we see another little blast of northerly winds. But we're not expecting it to last all too long, as we'll see from the longer range charts now. So do start on the latest GFS. You can see we've got that system, Storm Connell, clearing away to our east, and it does liven up as it heads toward Denmark. As I said, that's why it's been named. There's brief air of high pressure around, that's why it's giving this frosty cold feel at the moment, and eventually westerly flow will return into next week. As that westerly flow clears, then we see another blast of little northerly flow, but again, doesn't last all too long, and then we do see westerly conditions returning. It could be pretty unsettled at times, maybe late next week. Again, a little bit too far away to say with exact certainty, but you can see it's not going to be completely dominant. There will be ridges of higher pressure, fresher air masses mixing in at times. It's beyond that, as we head into the middle of the month, where things, could shape it up into something slightly different. High pressure tries to ridge northwards, fails initially, but has another go. And you can see this low pressure plunging into Europe, high pressure replacing it towards Greenland, and we do go into a fairly cold and unsettled pattern. It's the sort of pattern where we do see milder air masses trying to inject themselves off the Atlantic. It could cause more precipitation, maybe even more snow if those colder air masses get established. But equally, if those milder air masses win out, then it will just be, again, wet and unsettled. But here you can see a cold air mass pushes in initially, perhaps during the first full week of December. Milder air comes back, much colder air returns and kind of holds on, for milder air could again inject itself maybe there right towards the end of this run. So it'll be interesting to see how this does develop, but definitely signs of jet stream going more southerly tracked, blocking returning to our north, back to something colder potentially in the lead up to Christmas. As we saw in our winter look ahead yesterday, ECMWF weekly anomaly charts that forecast the conditions 5-6 weeks in advance, we're looking at this blocking returning for the week of Christmas. This is a little bit earlier than that by a week to 10 days, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if that blocking did return slightly early. Again, the ECMWF weekly anomalies aren't going to be 100% right. Maybe their timing's a little bit off, so again, we'll have to keep a close eye on it, but I am expecting the blocking to return during the middle of the month, perhaps second half of the month. Here it's coming around sort of the 10th to the 15th, a few days earlier than anticipated, but definitely does look a real possibility in the lead up to Christmas. What will it deliver? We can't say for certain. It could just be a cool, unsettled pattern, bit of snow in the north, or it could be something a little bit more major. We'll have to wait and see, but you can see here from the GFS, a classic colder setup, snow in places, but not a deep winter spell. We're not seeing widespread snow here or ice days. We'll see colder conditions, winteriness in places, but it will be transitional and it will be marginal if this sort of pattern came off. Now, if you compare to the latest GEM, see if that is similar. Again, westerly flow over the coming days. We got that brief northerly into the start of next week, but really doesn't last all too long. Eventually, high pressure does try and build in, but we do see some westerly flows again at times. And then as we head towards day 10, we aren't getting out as far as the GFS got to. This is only getting to the 7th of December, but at the same time, you start to see the breakup of the tropospheric polar vortex towards Greenland. Some lobes of high pressure is starting to build, and already a bit of ridging is occurring. Low pressure trying to move into parts of Central and Eastern Europe. So again, GM not quite the same as the GFS, but showing that evolution of a bit of a shake-up in the northern hemisphere. It does look like the tropospheric polar vortex, the jet stream is going to be pretty organised as we head into next week and for most of next week, but it doesn't look like it's going to stay organised for too long. You see here, day 10 and beyond could be broken apart once again, and the success of the breaking up of that polar vortex, of the tropospheric polar vortex that is, and the success of any blocking, that will determine what we see at the surface. And again, it will probably be a number of days, or maybe even a week or more, until that is completely clarified. But we're already starting to see the signs here, the first sort of hints of that occurring. Now, to finish by looking at the latest ECMWF, again, this is the midnight run, as the midday run hasn't fully come out yet. And again, you can see a westerly flow returning, and you can see the tropospheric polar vortex getting pretty organised into early next week. Lots of blues and purples all clumped together towards our north. And you can see it generally pretty well organised. Again, a few lobes are coming off here or there. Again, that's expected. We're not always going to see a complete coherent polar vortex, but you can see generally towards our side of the pole especially, it is pretty organised. Again, westerly flow, oscillating between colder and milder sectors. You can see, though, beyond that, again, interesting signs, again, of blocking returning to our north. And again, it could be signs that things are starting to turn a little bit chillier. We'll have to wait and see, but definite signs that we could see something a little bit chillier. And if we do go towards 360 hours, you can see that we do again get that blocking starting to build a bit stronger to our north, and again low pressure trying to move into southern and eastern Europe. So not the same as the GFS, not quite as sort of bullish with anything colder, but definitely again suggesting that we could see that pattern starting to occur. We'll have to wait and see, but again interesting signs once again from the ECMWF. Now, to finish by looking at the latest ensembles, these are the latest GFS ensembles, and you see there is a shift towards something colder in the longer term. Again, nothing massive, but a few degrees below average from quite a few of the ensemble members. Again, it could just be a deviation, but definite trend of something slightly chillier in the longer term. You see over the next week to 10 days or so, into early December, it is going to be very changeable. You see pretty mild conditions coming in through the weekend. Again, not expecting anything major, but you can see on the UKV 14, 15 degrees is a possibility. Next week, though, it is, as I said, going to be very changeable, slightly below average, slightly above average at times. So again, there will be chilly conditions, but equally be some fairly milder days as well. And then, as I said, into the middle of the month, starting to tail off towards something potentially a little bit colder. And we can see that on the 2-metre temperatures up into next week, and then oscillating, and then potentially dropping a little bit beyond that. And then if we do compare to the ECMWF, just to finish off, again, fairly strong signal. We're going to be above average over the next few days, dropping below average, and then kind of oscillating above and below for the foreseeable future. Maybe not as much of a trend towards colder conditions in the longer term, but again, plenty of chilly runs appearing there. And again, we're not expecting to see anything massively cold at this stage because it is still so far in advance. But it's those signs of the Northern Hemisphere shape-up that is going to be interesting to watch. Of course, northern blocking does not guarantee very cold weather. We've seen numerous times before. I think it was last year or the year before in the lead up to Christmas, we saw massive northern blocking. But because of the positioning of that blocking, we didn't actually see any cold conditions. So the synoptics were absolutely perfect. Massive Greenland high. But the low pressure, the jet stream undercut it and actually brought westerly winds in. For us, the cold air stayed just to our north. So again, doesn't mean everything, but that is the thing we need to keep an eye out. That's the thing that is going to be sort of forecasted better in advance. The details with sort of the upper air temperatures, surface temperatures, snow, precipitation, etc. That's something we can look at in a week or two's time. But for the time being, watching those synoptics to our north, and again, more interesting signs today of some of that higher pressure returning up towards Greenland, Iceland, and maybe even Scandinavia. And as I said, definitely does follow on pretty well from our winter look ahead that we did yesterday. So do check that out if you've not seen that already. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.